Good morning, friends, parents, students, alumni, stakeholders, wherever you are. It's morning in Ohio, but I know it is evening elsewhere, afternoon somewhere else, and really, really late in the night far away. So welcome to this year's commencement exercises, and it is my honor as head of school to officiate at this occasion. And you'll notice I'm fully vaccinated, so I'll be taking off my mask every time I come up to speak, and I'll encourage the presenters to do the same and then wear their masks when they're done. In between speakers, I'll wipe down this area where we're talking, and then we'll keep going after that. I'm glad that we are socially distanced, those of us who are here. I'm happy to welcome the parents, guardians, relatives of the graduates, this year's graduates, for in-person. Thank you very much for responding to our invitation that came late, and that is because of all the guidelines that kept on changing around graduation. Those of you who cannot be here, I hope that next year you'll be able to make it to Burnsville, and that we'll be able to have that wonderful reunion that we spoke about yesterday during our Alumni Association meeting. A few housekeeping details before we continue. Number one, as you'll notice, we are in the Stillwater Meeting House, and this is the meeting house for the Stillwater Monthly Meeting and the Ohio Gala Meeting. So we use it once a year for our graduation exercises, and we do that intentionally, recognizing our roots, our foundational roots, deeply in the Quakerism and the Society of Friends that started our wonderful school. So, in other words, this is a meeting for worship with attention to graduation, with attention to commencement, and so I request everyone to stay silent as the way friends do when they are worshiping. So we'll be worshiping this entire occasion. I request you to keep hand claps, all the sounds you want to make, rejoicing until the very end. Please hold your applause until the end, and you will know when. Once the seniors exit the building, they'll give us a signal that it is all right for us then to also upload them, and we'll finish with a bit of worship at the very end as well. Another thing, in between speakers, I'm going to allow for a moment of worshipful silence in between, again, following that meeting for worship with attention to graduation. So, for me today, all that is left is to congratulate this class of 2021. It's a class that's gone through quite a bit, as we'll hear, and they've made it to this day. It's my honor to be here. So, without much ado, I would like to welcome Roger Reynolds, the 12th grade humanities teacher, to introduce the class of 2021. Welcome, Roger. Please give me a minute to wipe down.
Good morning. It is my honor and privilege to introduce the Only Friends School class of 2021. This has been a difficult year, but we made it. And in no small measure because of these students who worked and worked and complained and worked some more to care for this community. So many of the things that are important to us as a community had to be sacrificed for COVID. Things like eating together, or even just helping yourself to some food. All our meals this year were served to us. And Batsalana Muse deserves special mention since, as school leaders, they were often the ones doing the serving. You don't realize how important something small, like holding hands during grace, can be until you can't. I must confess that during the senior trip, We gathered one night for dinner and actually did it. We held hands in silence. And the warmth of that touch was like an old memory, or a kind of homecoming. I thought, what could we have achieved this year if we had been able to hold hands, or play soccer, or just sign out to go to Dollar General? Someone at the alumni meeting last night was talking about the only experience. And I had to wonder about what that phrase means to these students. Everything comes out in St. Humanities. And for many seniors, there was a sense that spending their senior year on lockdown was not what they had signed up for. Except, of course, it was. Dear ones, when it would have been easy for you to fall apart as a class, you came together. It wasn't easy, but as Calvin says about our love for Heathcliff, necessary. The lessons you learned this year about caring for each other and putting community first didn't happen in any classroom, but they happened just the same. It's a beautiful morning. As I write these words at 6:47 a.m., the sun is out, the birds are singing. So let's reflect on all that this class has achieved. They not only made it through the year and stand before you ready to graduate, every class does that. They met face to face the whole year. They endured an only bubble like no other, a whole year of being together in close quarters. And even though your experience this year was different than what you hoped it would be, I believe when the dust settles and you come to appreciate it for what it is, you will come to appreciate it for what it is. God gives us challenges, but also gives us the means to overcome those challenges. To my way of thinking, you were exactly the class we needed for this year. So, by way of introduction, this is the class of 2021. They're kind of heroes. I have a few words to say about each senior, mainly so you can get a sense of who they are as individuals, and they're all so different. I might get some details wrong, so feel free to correct me. Noah Everett is a four-year senior. She's from Indiana. She might be attending Berlin College in the fall. Not sure. She wrote a beautiful essay on art and liberation, which you'll get to hear some of in a bit. Noah's smart, funny, and acerbic, as we can look up later. She is a certified scuba diver. She has terrific fashion sense. She's a gifted artist and a lover of nature in all its forms. Once in a walk down the back tube during meeting for worship, Leonard and I found Noah's shoes by the side of the road. But Noah herself was nowhere to be seen. Then we found her skirt hiked up, wading in the creek, looking for crayfish or salamanders, I guess. Or another Noah story. Just 2 days ago, Noah loves skeletons. Thursday, we were in here cleaning and practicing, and Ray checked out the attic, which you can get to on the other side. She asked me about it, and I told her I've never been up there. So we all had to go up there and check it out. And Noah got up there, and she found all these bird skeletons. And she said, "Look at them all! Look at all these skeletons!" And I was looking at her like, ugh. And she said, "Well, okay, it is kind of horrific, but also kind of jackpot." Oh, tell me all. I'm going to is a 2-year senior from Kampala, Uganda. I'm not sure where you're going to be in this fall. Where are you going to be? Where? Wingate University. Sweet, North Carolina. He wrote about art and the unconscious. Nathan is very chill. I think he is the chillest senior. He's very graceful. I can't say for sure, but I think that he's probably a very good dancer. I can't say for sure that Nathan is an amazing artist, and that when he was a little boy, he once drew a picture of a man who was made completely of heads. That image was the starting point for his graduate, but also it just says a lot about Nathan, a person who is soft-spoken, at least around adults, but incredibly imaginative and always thinking and absorbing. I don't know that he even is aware of his process or where his ideas come from. I think that for Nathan, the art comes from the same place that his jump shot comes from, or his perfect dolphin kick, which he demonstrated swimming in Lake George over the senior trip. To me, it looks like he was made for the water. Where did you learn to swim like that? I asked him. Oh, some pool, he said, oblivious. In so many things, Nathan is a natural. He's going to do great in college. Baxalano Makaboa is from Pretoria, South Africa. Baxalano is a 2-year senior, but I think of her as a 4-year. I mean, because she is so much a part of the place, not because her 2 years have seemed like 4 years. She's going to the State University of New York at Buffalo in the fall. Her graduate is a critique of Western medical practice in Africa. Bots is brilliant, committed, ambitious, brave. She is her own harshest critic. In her final exam, she wrote that the thing she'll take away from class is Keats's notion of negative capability, which is the ability to tolerate uncertainty. In a way, this idea formed the basis for her critique of medical science in her graduate, but it was, in a more fundamental way, it caused her to question everything around her. I guess if there's a Quaker testimony that describes Baxalano, it would be integrity. I don't mean that she's always truthful, which is how Quakers often think about it. I mean, she is committed to finding out what's right, which is an awesome way to be. Good luck to you. Stella Reesbeck is a 4-year senior and will attend Antioch College in the fall. Stella wrote their graduate about listening. Stella has a long history at Ole Miss. Few people care so much about the school. Stella's complicated. Fiercely loyal friend, an advocate for others, someone deeply in tune with others' feelings, in part because their own feelings are so big. Stella cares about everything all the time. At the end of the year, I asked the seniors to write about a moment from class they'll take away, and Stella wrote about the time we went down to the hoop house in March and played Big Booty, which, if you don't know, is a kind of collaborative clapping and chanting game. Except Stella wanted us to say dead bodies instead of Big Booty. So there we all were in the hoop house. It's cold, we were wishing it was warm, and we were yelling, dead body, dead body, dead body. Oh yeah, dead body. It was like the most only moment ever. Thank you, Stella. Starbuck Roberts is a 4-year senior from Belmont, Ohio. He'll be attending Ohio University in the fall. Starbuck wrote about the problem of communicating with the future, communicating with the distant future. Starbuck is a middle child. His older sister, Deborah, was class of 2017, and his brother, Golden, is a junior, or will be a junior next year. Starbuck may not know it, but he is actually a very good student. a student writer. And I have proof. One of his favorite things to do, he said, this year was the diary. So every week, a different person was chosen at random, and they had to write a diary in which they talked about all the different things that happened to them during the week. And over spring break, this is what Starbuck wrote. I woke up at 9 a.m. today and spent about 45 minutes waking up. Then I started doing the last bit of calculus homework that I had finished. I finished that around 11 o'clock and literally did not want to do a single thing. I actually almost felt like doing more work. Usually it's like I need to do work because I know I have to and I can find something interesting about it, but this felt like wanting to do it like you would want to watch a movie. I'm only realizing this as I'm writing now, so I didn't really act on it. But he did act on it because he wrote about it in his diary. Oh, Starbuck, we're going to have a great time at OU. Golden, no pressure. Ray Settle is a 3-year senior. She'll be attending Antioch College in the fall. As you'll hear in a few minutes, Ray wrote her gratitude apologies. But Ray has little to apologize for. Every now and then there comes a student who gets to school in a deep way. We were lucky to have many of those this year, but Ray was the one who took responsibility for her class, and in no small way for me. Keeping me on track, running Harkness. Ray was the one, when we were harnessing Paradise Lost, who told me that I wasn't really needed. They could do it themselves. That was the best. That's why I remember her, because she has a slightly different story. Ray is open and smart and generous and sincere and biting and sarcastic. She has an exquisite sense of irony, too, and an ultra-sensitive BS detector, which I should know. At one point early in the year, she confided in me that she was afraid people didn't get her, but that's hardly surprising, since there is so much to get. I'm so proud of her. Thank you so much. Mr. Zenehal is a 2-year senior from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He's mulling his offers at the moment about where he'll be in the fall. Musa wrote his granny about systemic racism. Musa is an achiever. He's ambitious and energetic. He's a born leader. He's always on the phone, taking important calls, taking care of business. He likes to brag a lot. And soccer. Musa is one of those students who wants to rip through the program as fast as he can to get to whatever is next. You know, usually kids are a little behind on the graduate. The end of the year, energies are sapped, but not Musa. Musa, I think, is the only student maybe ever to meet every grading milestone on time. There were times in the year when I would be in Google Docs, working on one of his papers, making comments, and Musa would be logged in at the same time, fixing my comments before I even finished making them. That's so Musa. He's going to do great in college. Good luck to you. And finally, Shenzhen. He's a 3-year senior. He'll be attending the University of Iowa in the fall. What a time it's been for Shen. Few students have ever worked so hard. He is almost always the last one out of the main at night. And none have had Shen's enthusiasm and heart. I like to think of Shannon's only secret ingredient. A person that adds that twist that makes everything good and right. Everyone has a great Shen story. When he was a new student, I remember him coming in the evening collection, sensing how relaxed everyone was, and collapsing, spread eagled in the middle of the floor, just to soak up the vibe. When we had a pie eating contest this year, Shen competed with passion. So much so that his punishment at junior social was another pie eating contest, which he also dominated. But that's Shen. It doesn't really matter what it is. He always gives it everything he has. It's when you do great at Iowa. So that's the exquisitely pristine class of 2021. Don't forget us when you're reaching things.
Thank you very much, Roger, for introducing the class of 2021. And now, for the program, I'd like to invite Noah Everett to share with us some bit of a senior essay. Welcome, Noah.
I have always been my sister Rowan's model. She decided to pick up photography at maybe 10 or 11, and I, of course, was wrapped into it too. There would be times she would come get me from my room early on weekend mornings. We would go on walks together, bringing with us baskets of different costumes for me to change into out on the farm. It would be chilly, sometimes freezing, and I would wear miniskirts and tank tops with ease. It's like I had the ability to shut off the part of my brain that would care about the cold or how I looked, or any other inhibitions that might come up. When we made art together, it was like I could truly live in the moment with her, and all of the baggage that had once existed between us would melt away. I haven't always enjoyed these experiences, but I have valued them the same way that one might ascribe to communion. The fruits of our labors aren't just the photographs, but a commitment to a relationship that has been difficult and wild, but is ultimately rewarding. The pictures Rowan takes become tokens of affection. The mere sight of them evokes a strong sense of calm within me, of reassurance that I am loved. The nature of a thing changes when it is associated with a joyous memory. Critic Sarah Ahmed describes such artifacts as happy objects. Art has a specific advantage in becoming a happy object because in its very creation exists a memory, a level of careful design, and the ability to communicate its importance to outsiders. For example, a happy object of mine, a well-worn Maxfield Parrish print I stole from my mother, has grown branches that touch almost everything I have written about. This print is of a painting Parrish made of his daughter, sitting on a stone in the middle of a body of water with her knees pulled up against her chest. In the background, there are rock formations and trees. As a small child, I would look up at the print from where it sat on the mantel above the fireplace and imagine the girl as my mother, the painting as a photograph taken of her by my grandfather. I have always thought that it was the most beautiful image I'd ever seen. I wanted so badly to be the girl I saw. My mother acquired the print years before I was born from a thrift shop amongst kitsch landscapes and portraits of cherubs. When the frame it was in fell apart, the print was left to roll around on our living room floor, but she decided to keep it anyway. She carefully collected the torn bits and pieces and taped them together. Even the water stain wasn't enough for her to give up on the print. Had she already noticed my growing attachment? Did she realize at all what she was teaching me when she kept it? Eventually, through my work as Rowan's model, I did become the girl in the painting. Time and time again, Rowan and I would recreate the image of the girl on a stone in nature. For so long, I associated my own experience of care through the process of art making with the parish image that I could not neatly differentiate what came first. My interpretation of Parrish's relationship with his daughter is entirely a projection of my own experience, but still, the print holds these confusions. From my parallel experience with Rowan comes another question. Could my mother have ever predicted that her daughters would reimagine this work within their own lives and contexts?
Thank you very much, Noah, for that. Sharing with us your senior essay. It seems newer every time I hear it, since you last practiced it here a couple of days ago. And memories come flooding back of your sister, Rowan, also making a presentation on her senior essay, also something to do with art. So I think your mother, who is here today with Rowan, has had quite an influence on both of you, I think, for the positive. So welcome Melissa, welcome Rowan. Next up, we'll hear from Ray, who is also going to share with us from her senior essay. Welcome, Ray.
When I was younger, I had a family member who would accuse me of things all the time. When something happened, it did not matter how far away I was, how preoccupied I was, or how unlikely it was that I had anything to do with it. I was always questioned. It got to the point that when I heard a loud noise, someone falling, something being dropped, a door slamming, I would brace myself. I would start to spiral, thinking too many things at once. I wanted to look engaged in what I was doing, enough that it was obvious that I had nothing to do with it, but not too engaged that it looked like I was hiding something. I wanted to make it clear that I had been here, sitting in my bed, avidly reading a book, not in the other room where whatever it was had happened. It is always scary to feel like you are being called out. Like your mistakes speak more to your character than what you do the rest of the time. It is difficult to resist the urge to defend, deny, and try to shift responsibility onto someone else. I envision myself as someone who is always doing their best to grow and accept that they cannot change. I feel my sense of identity being threatened when I am made aware of something I have done to harm someone else. And I feel myself having a fight or flight response. How can you make something right when your instincts scream at you to redirect direct blame as quickly as you can. So I do the only thing I can. I take in what is being said, breathe, and accept that I cannot change, that I make mistakes and I hurt the people I love sometimes. I believe this is something we cannot be completely free from, no matter how hard we try to be perfect people. The odds are so high that no matter what we do, we will always make mistakes, say things we do not mean, or offend others by saying something that we would not be hurt by. It is more worthwhile to learn how to apologize than to chase after being perfect. Many people, consciously and subconsciously, view apologizing as a sign of weakness. Many of these people, it is true, are men. We have the patriarchy to thank for this idea that men should not apologize, should not cry, should not be vulnerable. This idea is very misleading, and frankly a kind of cop-out. It is much easier to come up with a reason why one should clam up than to give vulnerability a real shot. Women, on the other hand, often apologize too much. Women apologize all the time for things that we do not need to. There are many reasons for this. Often, for instance, people who have experienced abuse will incessantly apologize because that is what they have been taught and shown and told that they should do. In a recent dissertation that studied apologies, Karina Schumann found that women offered more apologies than men, but also reported committing more offenses. There was no gender difference in the proportion of offenses that prompted apologies. This finding suggests that men apologize less frequently than women because they have a higher threshold for what constitutes offensive behavior. An apology, when offered at the right time, can restore peace to any relationship, from a friendship to an alliance of countries. An apology is not a show of weakness, but just the opposite, a show of vulnerability, discipline, and emotional intelligence.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to graduation. I still can't actually believe that I'm saying this because honestly, I haven't fully processed the fact that I'm done with high school. Like, what does that even mean? What does life after only even look like? I know that many of us today feel this way, parents included, high school. So you see, for the past few years, I've been fantasizing about what this day would look like. Wondering if today I would embody everything that I have always wanted to be. Happier, more confident, more aware of myself and the spaces that I occupy, or more intentional with the person that I choose to be. Stronger. But you see, as I've learned this past year, not everything goes to plan. That the young woman I expected myself to be when I was in 8th grade, watching as my own seniors graduated, is not the same person I am now, nor want to be. Coming to only as a young person, confused and unsure of the weight of my own voice and where my moral compass pointed towards, or where exactly I saw myself at the end of this unusual journey was all unclear. I remember coming here as a junior with my own ideas of what I hoped my last few years of high school would be like, which I hoped would be easy, but weren't. I was put in a class with 17 different personalities, which at first, I have to admit, intimidated me as I did not know where exactly I saw myself within. My classmates spoke religiously about things like how the rich are only getting richer, and really, women should be living on lesbian communes, and drinking kombucha. I often found myself annoyed at these conversations, or moreover, my lack of space in them. What place did I have living on a lesbian commune while drinking kombucha? And did me thinking this way make me less of a feminist because I didn't see need for women to be separated from the rest of society in order to lead good lives? These questions, or rather the divisions I felt within myself after asking these questions unsettled me. shrunk my voice and dimmed my light because it made me question who I was and what I had to say. I did not understand that people did not have to be each other's echoes in order to be revolutionary, and often enough, neither did my classmates. This past year was a vindication of this when we experienced problems with the kitchen and bemoaned the administration. We silenced those we did not agree with and found them indifferent because they did not share the same ideologies as we did. We eventually censored them into complete silence because the things that they cared about were not aligned with what we wanted. We made it hard for them to liberate their voices and be heard. For a second there, I believe, we let our passion get in the way of our humility. We became too concerned with what was too controversial to be said and not the actual issues of what we were experiencing, and we did this all at a price of each other. I, for one, a girl coming from Pretoria who had internalized her own social insecurities, had become too familiar with the sound of only a few voices and had come to accept the suppression of others. I forgot that I was raised by the teachings of Ubuntu, a Zulu word that translates into I am because you are. That I believe that the use of one voice meant the rising of another. I have to admit, however, slowly our class began to embody this timeless teaching. We finally got to understand that we were like one of Roger's weird ice cream machines where if one part doesn't work, the whole thing collapses. We saw it clearly when we planned this commencement and were able to look beyond our own personal motives and interests so that we could accompany those of each other's. We were able to empathize with each other and understand that today would be a day that represented different things for each other, for each and every one of us, and each one of those things needed to be heard. No, not only were we able to overcome so much this year, we learned so much about ourselves and each other. We learned that Muse doesn't actually run a telecommunications company, or that Stella is one of the most hilarious people you'll ever meet, but also the most gentle of souls, who makes a mean cup of Dolgano coffee. Nathan, the quietest of us, who blossomed into the most unexpected character you'd assume he would. A lovable dork who thinks he can hold his breath for 2 minutes and 30 seconds straight. Or Noah, the moral compass of our class, who is a walking nutrition book with weak wrists and also one of my favorite people. And Ray, who speaks fluent sarcasm and is the one person in our class who can always count on. This girl knows how to get stuff done. And Shen, the god of all gods. And Starbuck, who we all had a huge question to ask. Did you even finish it ready? But seriously, Starbuck is the Noah of all things, Star Wars and mechanical pencils and beyond. And myself, well, seniors, I'll let you decide. But I hope that someday we can all come in from the sky with our spaceships and trampolines and giant leaves and food trucks, and that we'll gather around and tell stories of the wonderful revolutionaries that we led, the hearts we touched and the people we became. I hope that today marks the beginning of the true heroes we are meant to be, those of Ubuntu that resemble I am because you are.
Thank you very much, Boss Solano. Early on in my tenure here as head of school, I realized that we had representatives from East Africa, Eastern Africa, which includes the Horn of Africa. Most say don't get angry that I've included you in Eastern, Greater Eastern Africa. And I say, look, we have East Africa, we only recently had North Africans. It is time to have students from Southern Africa. Soon thereafter, my wish was fulfilled, was met, and some friends introduced the school to Botsolano's mother, Angela. And the conversation kept going, and before we knew where we were, Botsolano was at Old Friends School. And I suppose after she's spoken, it becomes clear why we really needed to have that bit of Ubuntu here, personified in you, Botsolano, and we are certainly going to miss you, all of us. You've been a real shining light here at the school, and we look forward to receiving other South Africans in the form of Amohelan and Sepo, who will be joining us in the fall from South Africa, and we have Carlton from Zimbabwe, and many others. Of course, this year as we are leaving, we got the gift of Dawn from Malawi, who I believe is the first Malawian ever attend Only Friends School. And so our connection to Southern Africa grows deeper and deeper, and I hope it stays forever. Thank you very much for that address, Botsolano. I think it speaks for itself. And friends, you've seen what this class is made of. It was a big class, it's at least twice as big, and now we have 8. I would like to take a special moment here to say, Will, you are with me this morning. I really wanted to see you. To see you graduate today. In this class from Only Friends School. But wherever you are, Will, we hope you are well, and your classmates have done you proud. Others, the form of Axel, John, Patrick, Noah, Nava, and many others that I didn't find here at Only. We've missed you today, but certainly you're part of Only and part of this class. They thought of you as they wrote the prophecies, and the class history. I was going over it last night, and certainly you are all present in your class. Class of 2021, I will not forget this year, walking down Sandy Ridge Road with you all, talking about your futures, laughing, and promising you that I'll give you permission to go to the Tabor farm on June 5th, 2021 at exactly 12:01 p.m. And I grant you that permission now. Feel free at 12:01 to go frolicking in the Tabor farm. You are special class. I found you as sophomores. When I joined Only, you accepted to join our transdisciplinary curriculum. None of you said no, even though Leonard gave you the option to opt out, say we don't want anything to do with a transdisciplinary curriculum. And you led the way through some difficult metanoia classes, some other experimental classes, and you've been with Phineas, I think, for a minimum of 3 classes, and don't put it right. Christian, I don't have time because I have 3 of Phineas' classes and he loves to give a lot of homework. So, congratulations on going through all that. Nathan, I know that you're very loud, as much as you try to tease us that you're very quiet in public. I've gotten a great glimpse of you dancing and rapping with your peers, and that's made my day. Noah, many thanks for all of the vegan and vegetarian recipes that you've inspired me to find out and experiment on, and so that I'm grateful to you. In fact, you earned me some mega points on the home front when 3 weeks ago my wife Vivian said, you know, you're cooking a lot better these days. It's because of all those vegan things I took back home for her, and so I'm grateful for that. And Stella, I'll never forget my first few weeks at Only when you told me that since 5th grade you wanted to come to Only Friends School, and here you are graduating. Starbuck, who's been one of my writing assistants. I think you write harsher comments than me. So I don't know where I'm going to find another one of you, so that my students don't think I'm the only harsh critic of their writing in the world. Thank you very much for what you've done with that writing assistance program together with Botswana. Ray, for sure, won't forget all the times you've been conflicted and still come up on top, encouraging us through the pandemic. You're the only student who said, Christian, it's going to be fine. Stop worrying about the school and everything. I know that's your priority, but know in your heart that it's going to be fine. Thank you very much. And Muse, I don't know, maybe you'll turn me into an Abyssinian, maybe I'll turn you into a Ugandan. We will see where we end up. Something tells me that we are bound to do something wonderful together in the future that helps our continent. So, please keep in touch. Share. A lot has been said about you today, and I'll tell you what, it's been a remarkable journey for you, Shane. You are not the Shane who arrived at all. You are not the Shane that we could barely understand. And yet I'll tell you what, you haven't changed your accent. Somehow, we've gotten in tune with you. It's a pleasure to know you, Shane. And to know that there are people like you in the world, full of heart, dedicated to the mission, and willing to give 150% every day. And I'm sorry for the 2 sleeps I gave you this year for being late for the Dr. Dom time. I was just tired being on duty, and there you were, going on 10 minutes beyond Dom time. I knew that it wouldn't affect you overall, but thank you very much for leaving at exactly 10:09 the next 3 times I was on duty. It meant a lot to me, Shane. That's who you are. So 2021, class of 2021, always remember that when a tough thing shows up, failure is not an option. Folding is not an option. Always remember that advocacy has its place. You may feel good in a moment, being confrontational, calling people out, but that does not give you the long-term gains that you seek. That's one journey we've been on since you were juniors, and I'm so happy to know that you've internalized it. Always seeking to understand, building consensus, always seeking to find a way that you can all go together. Please remember that one. Proud to know all of you, the faculties, very happy. I mean, these colleagues of mine have sacrificed quite a bit to be here this year. I know some who have limited how many times they see their grandchildren, if at all, and where they go, how they go about their business. And they told me earlier on last summer that they wanted to make those sacrifices because we had to be open and we had to see many other classes graduate. So, thank you very much, faculty, for making this year the year it has been. It's not been easy, but for sure, we've made it through, even when other schools have been closed. I'm so grateful for every one of you, for what you've done to what they are, and that today we are ready to say farewell and we'll see you soon. Somehow, Leonard today did not want to help me hand out diplomas. So he convinced my son Chapel to hand them out, to pass them to me and to hand them out. Smart one, Leonard, but you cannot retire yet. Chapel has at least 25 years to go before he can be in your position, if he so chooses. But for today, we'll give him the honor to help me pass out these diplomas. Faculty members have signed these diplomas. I'll tell you, when I went on one of my college visits, Richard Simon made it a point to explain to the Director of Admissions how special this diploma is. He said all faculty members sign the diploma, and that is to say, yes, we witnessed the student grow, the student is ready to graduate. Seems like a small thing, but I don't know many places that do it the way Olney does. So it's now my distinct privilege and honor to present your diplomas to you, class of 2021. Noah Buttercup Everett. When I said that 2 days ago, she said, "You sound like my mom," calling me all three names. There we go. Nathan Chitu. Very proud of you, Nathan. Congratulations. Botsolano Magao. I noticed the middle name missing, but that's all right. Congratulations, Botsolano. And Emma won't forgive us if we don't take that photograph. Stella Risbeck. What are all the sophomores going to do without you? A man of mystery, Starbuck Roberts. Ray Sager. Yes, Muse S. Sermon. And he specifically requested Vicky for that S to be on his diploma with a period after the S. That is how particular this gentleman can be sometimes. Congratulations, Muse. And then Zian Shen. Before you sit, I promised you on awards dinner that there was one final award to give out. And that is an award for resilience and just positive attitude throughout this pandemic. This student has been on campus with the exception of maybe 9 days. He's been on campus since August 2019. As I say, one in a million. Shem, this is your award, right here, for your exemplary resilience and positive attitude. It's my honor to present it to you. Now, don't make me cry again, Shem. Thank you very much, everyone. That marks the end of the presentation of diplomas. And next we'll hear from our commencement speaker, Lauren Head, who works for the National Democratic Institute. Lauren has a graduate degree from the London School of Economics and Political Science. She's a peace builder and works on women's issues, specifically in North Africa and the Middle East. Lauren wanted to be here with us today, but had a few emergencies to handle, and so sent us her address here that we'll play in a second, and then you will get it in the Holy Current, and you can also access it online this afternoon. I think the sound quality, if it's not 100% on your end, those on Facebook Live, please go online on our website. You will have a link directly to her address, and for sure you will have it in the Only Current in the next issue in full form written. Thank you very much.
Good morning, all. I'm humbled and delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you today as we mark this threshold in your lives. First, I would like to acknowledge and thank the parents, grandparents, teachers, mentors, and community who have supported and nurtured each one of you and brought us to this moment. I too graduated from a small, community-oriented high school in a class of 6. I had struggled with depression throughout my youth, and while I had friends and did well academically, I felt disconnected from myself and the values of the community at my public high school. At 16, I came home one day and said that I needed a change. More specifically, I refused to go back to school, but I also asked for help and was open to exploring other possibilities for a more nurturing environment that would give me both the space to heal and to fall back in love with learning. Eventually, I found my own version of Olney, Puget Sound Community School, a small and independent middle and high school in my home city of Seattle. My attendance was conditional upon my willingness to drop back a year, not because of credits or grades, but because it would take time to learn and embody the school's values of integrity, community, passion, and respect. I agreed, and like many of you, made the scary decision to leave the typical path of my friends at home and instead listen to my heart in pursuit of something unknown and different. Something different I received. At PSCS, we started and ended every day in a community circle where we shared appreciations for what we were grateful for. We volunteered at a local organic farm on Fridays and had a designated rotating chore schedule. The students worked together with the teachers and their mentors to determine the academic calendar, and we had a separate seminar for our junior and senior years to prepare ourselves for life after PSCS and to develop an independent senior project. I knew that PSCS was someplace special. By the time I reached my own high school graduation, I thought that the lessons and rituals of my high school had done their duty of making me whole again, getting me through the challenging years of teenagehood and ready for college. I thought that the scary decision to step into the unknown when I went to PSCS was sure to be the biggest gamble that I would take. I had a plan for college and wanted to be a special education teacher. I was certain that adulthood was more of just that, plans and clarity and confidence about the next step. I thought that the threshold of graduation was built on a simple foundation, and that the years to come would continue to add each neat layer and detail to the blueprint. Now, more than a decade later, I am still waiting for that blueprint to the future. What I found instead was that the values and community and sense of self that I had cultivated during my years at PSCS were much more than a foundation, but an entire house of belonging. Only graduates, your time together has helped to build that house of belonging too, both of belonging to the self and to the collective. Today you walk away with not simply a diploma or senior paper or acceptance to university, though all of these are huge achievements for which we are deeply proud of you. More than that, you stand at the entryway to your house of belonging, holding a compass in hand that will bring you back to yourselves again and again as you face the uncertainties, challenges, and roadblocks ahead. That is what we are here to recognize and celebrate today. How you have filled this house with your love and kindness, your curiosity and integrity, your humility and value for community. We are here to celebrate the ways you have learned to know and love yourselves, and to let that knowing and loving be the light that guides you to do good in this world. This is what you have built over your last 2, 3, and 4 years at Olney. These two forms of belonging have grown through the rituals, hard work, and shared experiences with your classmates and teachers. They will serve as your most important guide, tool, and support system now as you move forward beyond this threshold and into the unknown. It is this first form of belonging, that of the self, that I have used again and again to guide me when there is not a clear path or trajectory ahead. In practice, this entails attuning to a feeling in your heart or your gut that says, this way. Rather than illuminating a 5-year plan, it may show you just the first step and give you the trust in yourself and confidence in your ability to watch, listen, and be curious. This was the feeling in your heart that told you to go to Olney. It was cultivated through the hours of practiced silence and ritual and morning prayer. It was exercised again through your identification and selection of a senior research project that spoke to your passion and your curiosity. These examples and many others have contributed to this sense of belonging and provided you with the practice to reorient yourself at each stage to come. Since graduating high school, I have found myself in the bad habit of buying a plane ticket for somewhere 2 weeks later with a half plan and an open heart, following the little tug that says, this way next. It has been these decisions, much like my first decision to leave school and go to PSCS, that speak to an inner knowing and that have had the most profound impact on the course of my life. The summer after my first year of college, I hopped on a plane to Thailand with a loose plan to volunteer in a center for kids with special needs. I ended up living and working with Burmese refugees while there, an opportunity that rerouted the entire direction of my future studies and career. It was the same pull that drew me to learning Arabic in the uncertain year that followed my undergraduate studies, to move to DC without a job, but with the knowing that I wanted to work in peace building and the trust and confidence in myself to make it happen. To return to graduate school years after having established that career in peace building, pursuing feminist studies at the London School of Economics to learn more about how to bring radical practices into my daily work. Each one of these decisions was a risk and required courage to step into a new unknown, but they have also been the decisions that have challenged and affirmed who I am. The second form of belonging is that of the collective. This knowing and practice has grown from the chores you do to take care of communal space. You have cultivated it through your daily work on the Olney farm, seeking to nurture the land and the community around you. It has been honed through hours spent in communal meals and cuddle puddles, for these are the safe spaces that you have practiced bringing your authentic self forward for the greater good. Moving beyond this threshold, your orientation towards belonging to the collective will enable you to make decisions and take actions that are rooted in empathy, solidarity, and a sense of service. In a conversation between Angela Davis and George Spivak, two feminist activists and academics, Davis refers to the importance and value of this form of belonging as it takes shape in collective leadership. Such leadership has emerged in recent years, particularly through youth-led movements, which have differentiated themselves from revolutions in the past because they ask you to bring your whole self forward and use this collective safe space as the basis for change. It is this collective leadership that understands the shared fate of seemingly disparate revolutionary struggles. In 2014, as the Black Lives Matter movement emerged amidst protest and police brutality in Ferguson, youth in Palestine were the first ones to reach out and extend solidarity, as well as tips on how to deal with tear gas and organize mass rallies safely. Now, 6 years later, after the BLM movement has revolutionized the use of social media to amplify public attention to protester demands, Palestinians in Sheikh Jarrah have been able to use these techniques to generate unprecedented global attention to their current struggle for liberation. These movements have grown organically and in response to opportunities that have emerged in the changing world around them. Each began with a collection of seeds of individuals who knew to listen to the fire in their hearts and act together from a place grounded in empathy and solidarity, feeding across borders into change for a better world. Now, to be clear, I am not suggesting that after graduation you start buying plane tickets on short notice or that you do away with your dreams to become a revolutionary. However, as 2021 has already well demonstrated, planning for exactly what comes next may be more and more challenging to do. Not only for ourselves, but for the world around us, an uncertainty that may often feel sobering and daunting. Only graduates, you already have everything you need to face this mystery head on. These houses that you have built are extraordinary, and the compasses you hold are sure to bring you back home to yourselves each time your heart beckons this way. Go forth with courage, with community, and remember to enjoy the journey. Congratulations, class of 2021, on your arrival to this next first step of the wonderfully uncertain road ahead.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and I hope that at some point here soon we get to host you on campus. I think you'll inspire many of our students here, Faith, Johari, who are truly interested in women's studies and those dynamics you described in the Middle East. You will really enjoy. Friends, now it's time for us to go into a period of worship, and those who are present may want to share a thing or two, but remember, I promised the seniors that at 12:01 they can go frolic. But after this, after our worship, once the seniors walk out and give us the signal that it is time for us to end the worship, I'll invite parents, guardians of seniors, and the seniors themselves to go down first to the main for lunch. Don't forget your photograph on the senior steps before lunch. But please, you're first in line, seniors and your guests. Then after that, it will be the rest of the student body and faculty. So next year, it will be you, Alice, Dawn, and Mike. You will be here with those who are also joining you for the senior year.